3. Good morning, good morning, good morning. This is The First Word. I'm your host, Pastor Rashid Taylor, coming live from Snow Central. Welcome to The First Word. I am not by myself. We have all fought this snow this week, and I am still here with my two very good friends. Let's start with the good doctor. How are you today?
I'm doing great. I want to say good morning, happy Sabbath from Frozen, aka Huntsville.
AKA Huntsville. That's right. That's right. And Pastor JD, how are you today, my friend?
Good morning to you all from slippery Huntsville.
Slippery Huntsville. That's right. That's right. That's
Yes.
right. Get your ice skates on and go grocery shopping. There you go. There you go. Take your family down the street. Here at The First Word, we use the SPACE acronym. As we go through the Word of God, we're trying to make it a richer experience for you, our viewers. We're trying to make it a richer experience for ourselves. So what we do is we practice the SPACE acronym, which is simply S, a sin to confess; P, a promise to claim; A, an attitude to adopt or adjust; C, a command to obey; and E, an example to follow. So as you're going through these, you're making the notes, that are standing out to you. You're writing in the Word of God. You're writing in your notebooks. You're writing in your Sabbath school lessons the points that stand out to you that are either sins to confess, promises to claim, so on and so forth, so that by the end of this experience, by the end of your Sabbath school experience, you have gotten a closer walk with God and you know what his voice is leading you into. So the second thing we need for you to do is like, share, and subscribe. That way, when you're watching this, somebody else is also getting the blessings that you have been given by this program. And it helps us to keep content coming more often, right? So we're going to get back to our no cap conversations. We're going to have more devotionals. We're going to have more content, but we need for you to like, share, and subscribe. Our goal for 2024 is 20,000 subscribers. So let's take the opportunity to share with someone else so that we can get there as a people of God. Dr. J, can you start us off with a word of prayer, please?
Absolutely. God, we're so thankful for your word and for just another opportunity to get together, to talk about it, Lord, to apply some truths. And I just pray that as we talk, as we dive into conversation, Lord, that your Holy Spirit will just inspire us with something that we can take with us through the rest of this day and the rest of this week and the rest of our lives. We love you so much and we thank you. Amen.
Amen. So as we are looking at the Lord reigns, we're going into the book of Psalms. We'll start with the Psalm 8, and we'll read a couple verses there. And it says, Lord, our Lord, how majestic is your name in all the earth. You have set your glory in the heavens. Through praise of children and infants, you have established a stronghold against your enemies to silence the foe and the avenger. When I consider your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon, stars, which you have set in place, what is mankind that you are mindful of them, human beings that you care for them? So our first question this bright and early morning is, is this psalm saying to us? Why is it still relevant to us in this generation? And that's for either one of you. Don't be shy. Just an opening question. What does that say to you? You hear those four verses. Why? How is that applicable to your life in 2024, even though it's a 3,000-year-old song?
Because I think that we still have to know who is in charge, who gives us the opportunity to move, to live, to breathe. We're not just robots doing our own thing, or just set to do the will of the one that created us, but we are in partnership. He's allowed us to be in partnership with him. And more than that, we're not just senseless animals either, but we are given the opportunity to rule over these animals. And so we are partners with the Creator, the King of the universe. And so that whether it be first day after creation or 2024, it's still applicable to know that we are in His image and that we created for Him. Yeah,
I like that. Jen, you got anything you want to add, or should we just move on?
Yeah, definitely. When I read this psalm, I think about Revelation 14, and I know somebody might be like, "What?" But with the three angels' messages, let's see. The first angel, that was flying in the midst of heaven with the eternal gospel, fear God with awe and reverence, and give Him glory and honor and praise and worship. Just that part right there, when I read this, it's just that reiteration that this is the God, this is the creator God, the only God, the originator, the source. This is the personal God because, and it's our foundation for anything else that we believe. So I get all of that. You said, why is this relevant to all believers? Because it kind of centers us. And your theology of God really impacts your theology, what you believe, and I just feel like this is like a centering, this a reminder, it's a declaration. This is the God we're talking about, the one who created everything, but also the one who created me, and it's personal to me. So
no,
it's
that's
the lens.
Good. I like that. Yeah, there you go. That's perfect description. It's the lens that we see God through, and we see our personal walk with Him through. I love that. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So as we are mindful of those words, how do you see these verses portraying us as human beings in this particular song? It says, what's the second part that I stopped at? Verse 4. Verse 5 says, you have made them a little lower than the angels, crowned them with glory and honor. You made them rulers over the work of your hands. You put everything under their feet, all flocks and herds and the animals of the wild and the birds in the sky, the fish in the sea, all that swim the paths of the seas. Lord, our Lord, how majestic is your name in all the earth. How does this kind of paint the picture of our role, or the role of people in this wonderful song?
I see it portraying people as God's kids.
Okay.
You all have kids. Your kids look like you. They look like you, not just physically, but they look like you in a lot of other ways, maybe intellectually or gifting wise. They have their own, unique spin on it, but they are a part of you. And so I see it as children of God, as John in the New Testament says, but we look like Him spiritually, morally, creatively, the way He is talking about. You have put all things, you have made Him to have dominion over the works of your hands. God created us to operate like Him. God was like the first entrepreneur. He's a creator, and we are as well. So I just God's kids looking like Him and maneuvering like Him in this world.
Okay, appreciate that.
Yeah.
So JD, as you hear Jen's answer and you hear those voices, what do those words say to you about the character of God? That He would give us this, and He would do things for us, and as a unit, but also as maybe as individuals. What does this tell you about His character?
It says a lot. The biggest thing that it says to me is that He's a God that is not afraid of giving responsibility and allowing us to run with the idea that has been placed before us. Sometimes we have if you work in the corporate world, if you ever work in the corporate world, for those of you who's been in a space where you're more intelligent, you're smarter on a subject more so than your boss. Your boss become intimidated by and by no means are we smarter than God. By no means, by no stretch of imagination,
right?
At all. But the fact that He's given us dominion, it says a lot. It says a lot. He gives us dominion, and He doesn't say, "Okay, you mess up, I'm taking it back from you." No. He gives So the idea that
Yeah.
when you look at the character of God, he's a good God. He's a God that is willing to. He's a kind God, willing to share with. I will share his space with us. He's a loving God. He put his stamp of approval
Yeah.
on us by putting his own image on us. And so, yeah, the characteristics of God says a lot. Is that he's not a God that is afraid of us messing up. He's not
Mercy.
afraid that we're going to make mistakes. In fact, that's a part of the package.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, so that when I see him, he's a God that is so loving, so kind, so considerate, so foreknowledge. He's just, even though he has the foreknowledge that we mess this thing up, and he just still smiles, and he still has the compassion on us. He's still the idea that he's made us a little bit lower than the angels. The old reading says, the Hebrew says Elohim. And so it's not just angels, but Elohim. He doesn't mind sharing with us himself. That's powerful.
Come on.
Yeah, it is. And I think for us as human beings, we often come to God as Jen pointed out, our theology of God shapes our theology of God, right? So what I say God is, the presuppositions I have will inform my relationship with him. So as you pointed out, we come and we often see authority figures as afraid of us. They won't let me be great. They won't let me shine. They won't let me come up. So we see God, we see the relationship, we see the regulations of the relationship, and we see that only as a way of him holding us back instead of seeing all of the things that he's entrusted us with, even though he knows we're going to mess up, even though he knows we are going to take it for granted, even though he knows we'll often take credit, right? Like the gifts we've been given, and we'll talk about this later on, the vanity of wickedness, but that we think the things that we have in us, things that we could not put inside ourselves, we treat them as if we cultivated those things, we generated those things, we created those things in us.
Mercy.
But when God has blessed us so abundantly, as it says, what is mine that you are mindful of him, man, that you are mindful of him, excuse me, when he has so many other facets of his universe and universes that are way more magnificent than us, that he still counts the hairs on our head. So it's an amazing thing when we actually look at this relationship that he wants to have with us and died so that we could have it, and how he's so patient with us even though we don't respect it or appreciate it. All right. So when you hear that God calls the stars by name, when you hear that he names the very stars, how does this shape your view of his love, his intentional love for us? How does that shape that or frame that, or how does that become the lens for you seeing that love? Jen, and then go to JD.
Yeah. So as a classroom teacher, it was really important for me to know my students' names as soon as possible when the school year started. Why? Because it was important that we built a relationship.
Yeah.
There was no way we were going to make it together. Me as the teacher and 20 plus students, for the school year, if there was no relationship foundation there. And for me, in that context, the first level to relationship was, I know your name. Your name is personal to you, right? Your name is personal to you. And so when I see that God calls the stars, they are inanimate, they can't talk, they can't think, they can't give him love back, that he knows them by name, and just lets me know how personal he is. Because not only did I want to know my kids' names, I wanted to know things about them that gave me more insight into them. And I'm not God, and not by any stretch of the imagination am I comparing myself to God, but it's the best I can do. Because he gave us the gift of relationship. And so to know that God knows the stars' names, and then I look like him, he created me to be like him, and he knows me at a much more deep, intimate level that's personal to me, that makes him personal, that makes him relatable.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
good. That's good. JD, when you think about that same question, when you think about God as creator who has given the stars names, and you think of yourself in relationship with that, how does that make you feel? What comes to your head, your mind?
What comes to my head? Jeremiah 1:5. Before you were born,
Mm-hmm.
he
Come on.
set you apart. He sanctified. He knit you in your mother's womb. You know, he
Mm-hmm.
has
Yes,
stuff.
sir.
Psalms 139. Where can I go from thy presence? You know,
Mm-hmm.
all
Yes.
these texts for me is
Mm-hmm.
one thing. But the best way to do this for me is to tell you as quick as possible. When I first when I first really started to having a relationship with God, was looking at the stars.
Mm-hmm.
I was just
Okay.
blown away that God, the thing that caught me was that I look at the stars, the stars, all the stars in our
Mm-hmm.
galaxy, and I see
Yeah.
the Big Dipper, and I try to look at them and try to name them as much as I could.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm thinking to myself, this small little blue ball,
Come
some
on.
offset in this
Mm-hmm.
galaxy, in a vast number of universes, perhaps,
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
maybe millions of galaxies. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Here it is that this little boy right here
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
is known by the King of the universe.
Mm.
Listen.
It
Come on.
blows
Come on.
my
Right.
mind.
Right, right, right.
Right.
And when you think even deeper than that, that every issue that I get into, every trouble that I find myself in, every
Mm-hmm.
problem that I go through, every illness that I have to deal with, that he's
Mm-hmm.
willing
Come
to
on.
come in the same space with me and sit with me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, I can't, there's no words. It's
Mm.
unfathomable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
idea that the king is like, it's like the president of the United States, and that's just on a minute level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He hears that I'm sick, and he says, "Let me come visit you," and is
Mm-hmm.
willing to spend time in the hospital with me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's
Mm-hmm.
more, is a billion times more than that.
Yeah.
He's
Right.
present. He's ever present with me. Every
Mm-hmm.
decision that I'm making,
Mm-hmm.
I can pass by him and say, "Well, JD, let's do this." He's
Yeah.
he's there.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
That's
Come on.
that's an awesome picture that you just painted. Like not only
Yeah.
the intentionality from before with us as individuals, but the intimacy that he wants us
Yes.
to have. Like
Yes.
we've been in house, all of us have been in the house all week here in Huntsville, just because we didn't have the equipment that some cities have to kind of clear the streets. So we've been kind of hunkered down in our houses, and so it's allowed my kids are back home. So it allowed us to have real conversations. And what we discovered is the last time we've had maybe a love language conversation, that it's been some shifting, it's been some changing. And as people who love each other, it's like, okay, how do you meet that? But God is not only aware of that for the four people that live in his household, right? Like Father, Son,
Come
and Holy
on.
Ghost. He's not to just have that, but he has that for each and every one of us. And he's intentional about knitting certain things in you that will bring you back to him when you stray away.
Come
Certain things
on.
that you realize, if you're really about relationship, that you realize that God is the only one that kind of makes that thing worth having. God is the only one that kind
Yeah.
of understands me in that way. So I just
Mm.
love that picture that you painted, JD, of a God who isn't far off, isn't aloof, isn't distracted by the stars that he's named, and unaware of what we go through. He's intentional. I love that. Intentional and intimate.
Yes.
So thanks for
Yes.
just painting that picture so well for us, brother. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. All right, so let's
Yes.
move down a little bit as our time is quickly getting away with us. Psalms 97:10. Let's look at that real quick. It says, you who love the Lord hate evil. So why should our love for God cause us to hate evil, Jen? Why should our love for God cause us to hate evil?
Because it mirrors divine hate. And I think
Mm-hmm.
we look at hate through the lens of human experience, and we don't realize
Again,
that
yeah.
there is a divine hate. Yeah. And that divine hate is simply it's not a selfish emotion
Mm-hmm.
or response, but it's a response to anything that defies or tries to rival God, his
Mm-hmm.
love,
Mm-hmm.
his righteousness, which is right relationship, him and with each other, right? Based
Mm-hmm.
on
Mm-hmm.
love and his sovereignty. So anything that, for example,
Go ahead.
let's say that I eat a lot of high fat, high cholesterol, high
Mm-hmm.
salt, high sugar foods, right? And I don't have
Mm-hmm.
any energy. I'm sick. I'm catching every bug that comes by. My blood
Mm-hmm.
pressure is elevated. I'm on the verge of being diabetic, any of that, right? And then I come
Mm-hmm.
into some great information from a dietitian. I talk to a dietitian, an expert in
Mm-hmm.
his or her field, and I
Mm-hmm.
start listening and receiving the information, and I start changing my habits. And I get to see a contrast, a vastly different contrast in my health because of this new information that I've come up
Mm-hmm.
against, and now I'm utilizing it, right. And so I'm losing weight. I love the new lifestyle. I'm
Come
exercising
on. Come
now. Now I'm
on.
telling
Come
other
on.
people about
Yeah,
it,
yeah, yeah.
right.
Come on. Come on.
So now I hate the things that had me in the
Mm.
situation that I was in because of
Mm-hmm.
when you have a high cholesterol, high fat, high salt, all of
Mm-hmm.
that, all these
Mm-hmm.
processed foods, all of this fast food,
Mm-hmm.
I hate that now. I hate the advertisements for it because I know the road that it takes is taking people down. So it's my
Mm.
response to the things that are blocking people and me from having a healthy
Mm-hmm.
lifestyle, right? So our hate of sin is our response to all of the things that Satan and his imps have conjured up to distract us, to draw us away, to help us, to make us, to guide us into redefining things that God has already called good, right? I hate those things because I know where it's going to take people.
Mm. Love it.
God knows that is not, though, y'all don't understand. You were born into this. I get it. But you don't understand that you're on the road to perdition. Like, that's going to kill you.
Mm.
We always talk about the burning building.
Yeah, yeah,
If
yeah.
I'm born and there's always fire,
Mm-hmm.
burning around me, that's normal to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that's eventually gonna destroy my
Right.
habitation and me.
Mm-hmm.
So if God is just saying, no, come out of there, come out of there,
Mm-hmm.
that's all I know. I've
Yeah.
never been to any other side, and so
Mm-hmm.
now, and if I follow those directives and I get to an environment that's peaceful and calm and there's
Mm-hmm.
no fire burning and all that, now I'm just like, and when I see the fires and I see people
Yeah.
used to that and it's normal, now I'm just like, oh, I hate that because I know what it's
Mm-hmm.
going to do to
Yeah.
them.
Mercy.
Yeah,
I love
that's
that.
what we love
Yeah.
righteousness,
Mm-hmm.
hate evil, because
Mm-hmm.
evil is what will destroy us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it comes with that awareness of those consequences, of those effects, not the person doing it.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So,
Yeah.
JD, and this is for anybody, but I want to start with you, JD. How can we hate evil without being hateful? Like that. That seems to be the part that takes effort. That seems to be the part that takes takes
Clearly.
discipline. Yeah, yeah, yeah. How can I hate evil? The things that people do,
Why is it
as
so
Jen
hard?
painted. Yeah, come on. The things that people do, as Jen just painted out, that's contrary to the will of God. But how can I hate that thing
Yeah.
without hating the person that's doing it?
Right.
I almost said it was easy, but
Mm-hmm.
when you see, it's easy on and I hate to say it like this, on a lower scale, how we grade sin.
Yes.
On a low
Mm-hmm.
scale,
Mm-hmm.
we can easily say, okay, my child, he lies or she lies,
Yeah.
or no,
Yeah.
no, he oftentimes fibs or tells a white lie,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? And so we kind of grade it down.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's
Right.
easy to now say, I hate the sin in my child, but I hate but I love my child, right? But then you have that individual that has done some atrocious acts of
Yes.
violence, of you know, rape, murder, kidnapping, all those
Right.
things.
Right.
You know, it's hard to look at the person and say, "Man, I love him," but he's just been so.
Right.
It's hard. It's hard
It's
on
hard.
that level, you know, especially when it's happening to your child or to your,
Yeah.
you know, to you. You know, we don't have to go that far. You know, for divorce is rampant outside the church and inside the church. And so
Right.
when a couple breaks apart, you know, it's hard to not look at the person and say, "Man, I don't like you," or it's hard not to look at the person with some kind of malice in your heart, you know. So
Right.
it's easy to say, again, on a lower level, for your children,
Mm-hmm.
hate the sin,
Mm-hmm.
love the child.
Mm-hmm.
Hard, it's the it's a grown up and the sin is against you, or
Yes.
you know, a Jeffrey Dahmer, or a
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
know, yeah.
Yeah. I appreciate you saying that and exposing that this is really how we relate. This is how we
Mm-hmm.
relate.
Yep.
Even us as Christ followers, this is our struggle, this is our challenge. And I'm thinking about, because it's our lens is brokenness.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's how it's flawed. Our lens is cracked and scratched and dirty,
Mm-hmm.
and we can't see. It's very hard for us to see, and we're also emotionally driven, in our
Mm-hmm.
response. So yeah, a person, like, I was looking today, I was just scrolling on social media, and I saw a post, which is like a
Mm-hmm.
community post for Huntsville, and somebody mentioned, uh, and I'm not going to be real specific because somebody mentioned that something had
Mm-hmm.
happened,
Okay.
right? And
Okay.
and they needed, it involved Crime Stoppers, right? And then
Mm.
people were responding, and they were questioning it, and they were questioning the person who
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
posted it, the validity
Mm-hmm.
of it. But
Yeah.
then that's not even what I want to focus on. I want to focus on the fact that a couple of people, as soon as they heard it, were just like, basically, I hope the book is thrown at him. He's
Mm-hmm.
such a
Mm-hmm.
terrible person, and
Mm-hmm.
blah, blah,
Mm-hmm.
blah. And I know, I get it, because some people were triggered because they
Yeah.
had experienced something
Yep.
in that realm. And so
Mm-hmm.
immediately that took them back. And so I understand why so we have to realize the lens that we're looking through.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is such a relevant question, because in our larger, Christian realm,
Mm-hmm.
it's just so disappointing to see people who claim to follow Christ
Yep.
mistreating, I mean, out in public, like
Mm-hmm.
mistreating people,
Mm-hmm.
condemning people to hell. Um, and I'm like, yeah, maybe you didn't do that very thing that they did,
Right. Right.
but there's something that you did that they did too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't make you better than them.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I think we don't know how to hate evil without hating
Mm-hmm.
people,
Right. Right.
or being hateful, because
Mm-hmm.
our lens is just broken. Our lens is just broken. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think our outside expectations are always greater than our inward expectations.
Oh
We
my
always
goodness.
expect something from someone else, especially if they have a title, especially if they have a position that, and if you, Lord God forbid, that you had something to do with putting that person in that position and they let you down, then it's far worse than if they had just done whatever it is, the thing that they had done. And so a pastor cheating on his wife is worse
Yeah.
than a average member cheating on his wife.
Yeah.
A
Absolutely. Yeah.
Christian stealing is worse than someone else stealing, right? So it's all of these expectations that we have for what people should do. And if that thing especially is not something that I wrestle with, then it's far worse. Like you pointed out, like if, oh yeah, we've all had marital troubles, but I didn't do, you know what I'm saying? So if it becomes the thing,
Yeah. I
like you
didn't do
pointed out,
that.
if it becomes the thing that's not in my my deck of
Oh my
misfortune,
goodness.
then yeah, it's far worse than something that is. And so I think we have to actually look at what Christ Christ's methodology was, right? So
That
Judas
part.
was just as wrong as Peter. Peter was just as
Yeah.
wrong as the other 10 who had ran away. You know what I mean? So Christ didn't say, okay, yeah, well, y'all, look, Judas was terrible, but the rest of y'all, all right. No, all of you
Right.
will betray me this evening.
Oh,
In,
right.
your own ways, you will all betray
Yeah.
me. That's the same thing. In our own ways, we will all betray Christ. We will all let him down.
Mercy.
We will all disappoint him. Yes, I may be the person that kisses him and he goes to the cross, but it's still everybody has let him down, and I have to be
Correct.
mine and be gracious towards you with yours, because sooner or later I'm going to find myself in a similar position, not the same, but a similar position. Oh man, that's good. Thank you for hitting those hammers on those nails on the head. Let's move into we kind of touched on this earlier. I want to kind of close out. I'm going to read a little bit of Psalm 75, verse 1 through 10. And let's talk about why the wickedness of wickedness is in vain. We praise you, God. We praise you for your name is near. People tell of your wonderful deeds. You say, I choose the appointed time. It is I who judge with equity. When the earth and all its people quake, it is I who hold its pillars firm. To the arrogant, I say, boast no more. To the wicked, do not lift up your horns. Do not lift your horns against heaven. Do not speak so defiantly. No one from the west or the east or from the desert can exalt themselves. It is God who judges. He brings one down. He exalts another. In the hand of the Lord is a cup full of foaming wine mixed with spices. He pours it out, and all the wicked of the earth drink it down to its very dregs. As for me, I will declare this forever. I will sing praise to the God of Jacob, who says, I will cut off the horns of all the wicked, but the horns of the righteous will be lifted up. So, JD, let's start with you. Why is the boasting of the wicked in vain, fruitless, useless?
It's useless because there comes a judgment. I mean, that's the easiest and quickest answer. There's a space. There's a place in the Psalm as well where David talks about, why does the wicked prosper?
Come on.
He said, I found myself in the sanctuary, and he realized that God is a just God. All the things wicked are bragging about, it will come to an end. It will come to an end because God has a last say so. His people will, throughout history, scriptural history, you realize that every wicked act, every wicked had an end. Judgment comes. Judgment comes.
Yeah.
And when we look at Revelation, we realize that last chapter in Revelation, chapter 22, says, he who's what? Righteous.
Come on.
Righteous.
Righteous
still.
Righteous still.
He who's filthy.
Yeah.
Let me
still.
In my own translation. If you have been doing wrong, just keep on, because judgment, your day is coming. I mean,
wow.
When I say that, I'm not saying that you shouldn't try to change. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying if you're filthy, the book says that you're gonna you filthy still. Remain righteous. So the idea is that the wicked have their day. They marked out for them, and so you can gain all the wealth you can being wicked. You can have all the friends you think you need being wicked. You can be on top of the mountain being wicked.
Yeah,
your day will come. Your day will come.
Mercy.
And when it comes, it will not be a pretty thing.
And in that same vein, Jan, then how is judgment good news for those of us who are covered by the blood, of those people who are covered by the blood of Christ? How is that good news, knowing that judgment is coming?
Yeah, I'm so glad that there are two parts to this full judgment thing. Great. So I just want to read Psalm 67:4, which
Okay.
says, "Let the nations be glad." The nations. That sounds like a lot of people, right?
Down it,
Let the
don't it? Yeah.
nations be glad, and sing for joy. For you, capital Y, will judge the people fairly and guide
Mm.
the nations on earth. Why is this good news?
Mm-hmm.
Because he is the righteous judge, he is the fair judge, and his judgment is good news because they are on behalf of his people.
Come
So
on.
sin was never to be a part of this world. That wasn't part of the design.
Mm-hmm.
But it came through. It wrecked the place, threw everything off. God is the only one qualified to set things right and to judge fairly. And so to
Mm-hmm.
judge means to save, to free, to liberate. That's good news. To
Mm-hmm.
Good news.
liberate, to free, to it's from what? From the effects of sin,
Come on.
from the consequences of sin,
Yeah.
and what has
Yeah.
been what we have been subjected to. Unfortunately, there are people who will choose something other than God.
Mm.
And he's
Mm.
not going to allow that to keep running
Mm-hmm.
rampant. He's going to bring an end to that. And
Yeah.
because there are people who have chosen something other than God, they have
Mm-hmm.
bought into Satan's agenda. And
Mm.
that wreaks havoc. That continues to perpetuate evil and wreaks havoc on people who have chosen God. So they get to be
Mm-hmm.
free from that, that foolishness, the
Yeah.
shenanigans. It's like being
Mm-hmm.
free from a bully. You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying? When that
Yeah.
bully finally
Yeah.
gets taken care of,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you'd be like, what's the Christmas movie?
Freedom.
A Christmas Story. A Christmas Story.
Oh yeah,
Little
yeah,
dude was
yeah, yeah.
getting
With Ralphie
bullied.
and all of
Getting
them.
bullied.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, remember that day where it was just like he took care of business. Like you caught him on the
Mm-hmm.
wrong day, and he wailed
Mm-hmm.
on that little dude, and I don't think he bothered him anymore.
Ever.
That was judgment for your
Mm-hmm.
boy. He didn't
Yeah.
bother him
Yes.
anymore. So,
And
and
judgment
all
for
the
the
other
good and
kids
for the
that,
bad at that
yeah,
point.
right. So all the other
Yeah.
kids that he messed with, his little brother, and all the little kid
Mm-hmm.
that he kept, he kept doing all the mean things
Mm-hmm.
to. That
Mm-hmm.
meant liberation for them.
There you go. There you go. Yeah.
The gospel
Yeah.
according to a Christmas story. Yeah, yeah. Somebody better
Yeah.
bless him.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. That's
Yeah.
good. That's good. That's very practical. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. So let's just take a few
Amen.
closing thoughts here. JD, why
Sure.
is understanding the great controversy, why is that helpful for us, even though we're in this? Because I love that Jen pointed out that it's freedom from the bully, but as of right now, like we still live in a bully, we still see the effects of the bully,
Absolutely.
we'll still
Yeah.
see him wreaking havoc on the school that is planet Earth. But why is understanding the great controversy, why is that so helpful to us in the here and now, but also for what's to come?
You know, when we think about great controversy, we realize that the enemy is really the accuser of the brethren.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
His desire is to pull all of us down with him.
Mm-hmm.
So that hellfire was not made for us,
Mhm.
and so his desire is to really, really take the last licks he can on
Mm-hmm.
Jesus,
Mm-hmm.
to
Come
try to
on.
destroy the image of God by saying that look at them, they're nothing like you.
Mm.
Look at them, they're not even worth saving. You know, you die for nothing. And so
Mm-hmm.
the idea of the great controversy says to us that even though we don't deserve
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Come
uh,
on.
anything, even though we
Mm-hmm.
don't deserve
Yeah.
anything,
Mm-hmm.
God, because of His love
Ooh,
for us, because of our
come
desire to be
on.
saved,
Mm-hmm.
he's gonna rent this thing apart, and
Mm-hmm.
evil is gonna go one way, and those who are righteous again will go the opposite way. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and the whole thing, this whole
Yeah.
controversy will end with the wicked never having reign again on the face of this earth. And those who are righteous will forever live in a space that says
Yeah.
God is truly holy, that God is truly love, and we live in the blissful space of Christ love and kindness for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Amen.
Amen.
I love that, because destruction was never a part of his intention for us. And
Never.
Right.
so, as Jen pointed out with the burning building earlier, and as you're pointing out, we don't have to be destroyed. There's a side
No.
in this fight that their destruction is guaranteed. Then there's a side in this fight where their deliverance is guaranteed. And all it is you simply choosing which side you want to be on, but you know the end result for each side. Like, it's not like he keeps that secret. So thank you,
Right.
brother. Thank you for
Right.
pointing that out to us. So Jen, how should the belief in God shape our understanding of ourselves in relation to other people, and what kind of happens to people when we kind of get off his intended path as we go through this journey side by side with other human beings, other created beings?
Yeah. So my thoughts were, we going back, we were all created in God's image, period, point blank. And we've been corrupted by sin. So we're going back to the beginning. And that sin manifests itself in different ways, different cultures, different worldviews, points of reference. And we're not better than anybody else. God is always revealing himself. These are all the things that kind of came to mind with this question. God is always revealing himself, even in the most challenging circumstances or in the most interesting environments or most unlikely environments, because he desperately wants us with him, right? And our understanding of ourselves based on our belief in God, that's the thing that stirs us, or that's the thing that must stir us or encourage us or inspire us to share that with people, our experience with God, that with people who are still, what's the word? Who are still in the mindset and the heart set to access, this personal and spiritual freedom from what we are driven to share. It can have a domino effect. That whole, you're loved, you're unique. God created you. You have value. You have purpose. A lot of times that experience, that perspective rivals a lot of these other belief systems that's out there, because something that's not connected with God, or that is not that did not come from God, is not lasting. And it just doesn't fill those voids or those holes that we have, that it's only meant to be filled by God. It means helping guide people back to that. I think we focus a lot on the fact that people stray, or, hey, look, ooh, that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Ooh, oh my gosh, look what they believe in. But people they do based on what they be, right? What they identify with, what frames their identity, what they believe in.
Yeah, I like that.
And so I think striking at the base there, I think if people saw more examples of real love, real unconditional love, real acceptance, God being lifted up instead of agendas, God being lifted up and loving people instead of condemnation. Like, we are really reckless with that, with condemnation and rebuke. I think they would be drawn to the pure love and character of God, because we are actually allowing that to shine through us. Not, you shouldn't be doing that. That's wrong. You whack. You know what I'm saying? Those characteristics of God that he wants so desperately to communicate through us, to articulate through us, through how we live our lives, through what we say, how we treat other people. I think that would be more the draw than I'm finna argue with you. I'm finna debate my beliefs against yours. But going back to that, we're all made in God's image. This is what God intended. How can we shine light, in spaces where people have strayed, so that they can be drawn back to the pure love of God?
How much light can I give if I've only lived in the dark? How much
Okay.
how much can I operate in my full potential if I've only lived in the dark, right? You can be the greatest person locked in a closet, but there's only so far you can go. You can be the greatest person locked inside your house, but there's only so far you can go. And so until you've seen the light, until somebody has shown it to you and then modeled those things for you, you cannot be what you were born to be. Not just even what I hope that you would be or what I think you could be. You can't be what you were born to be until somebody shows you something better. I love that, Jen. People do what they see. That's just human nature. We do what we've seen because that's the model, the only model sometimes we have.
That's right.
As for our closing thought, excuse me. It says, but they mingled with the nations and adopted their customs. They worshiped their idols, which became a snare to them. So we have these cute words that we give for idolatry. We have these, this is my hero, this is my mentor, this is that. But why are modern day idols dangerous to us, or just as dangerous to us as they were to the children of Israel? Because they were the ones that mingled with them. They were the ones that, adopted their customs, so on and so forth. So why are modern day idols just as dangerous for us, JD, as they were for Israel back then?
It's funny that you said you phrased it the way you just did, and because it just got me clicking. I thought I had an answer until you said that.
What cute names? We give them cute names.
Not cute things, but the idea of
I like that.
Our role models and stuff like that. Only live up to the standard of those who we consider to be our role model. We can't go any higher than that.
That's right.
And if we do go higher than that, it can't be much higher. And so the danger in that is that we will never live up to the standard of God when our standards of other people or things are so limited. We'll never be what God desired for us to be because we've limited ourselves to a human standard. We've limited ourselves to things on earth. And God is saying, you got to go beyond this. Well, I created you to be beyond this. No, we talked about it before. I know your name. I created you. I give you dominion over the bird of the air and the beast of the field. I created you to just be a little bit lower than Elohim himself. But we set our standard like this.
Come on.
But God is saying, up here, keep looking up, keep climbing.
Come on.
And so we can ourselves by idolizing things and people, things that we can see and people that we like, and we try to preach like them, we try to talk like them, we try to walk like them. And God is saying, listen, I am He. I created you my image, not in their image. And the moment that you model yourself after somebody else, you have you've robbed yourself from what God has desired to give to you, because it's not you that God created you. He didn't create it. Old block of Timmy over there. He created you to be His image. And so you kill yourself. You rob yourself daily when you try to be like somebody else, as opposed to being like God, Creator.
Wow.
Come on. Jen, what do you think about that? That was a lot. That was in a good way.
Yeah.
That was you said a whole lot, brother. I appreciate that. Jen, what about you? How are these idols dangerous for us in the here and now?
Yeah, I love how JD circled us back, closed the loop,
Yeah,
to the beginning, to Psalms 8. Like, they're not God. They are a poor representation of what God is. They are ineffective. They have no power. They masquerade as God or as something important or as something that can actually do something for us. But at the end of the day, they cannot. They cannot. And it doesn't have to be an idol of wood or gold or anything like that. It's the things that we, like you said, the cute things, the things that we put in God's place as if it can do something for us that only God is designed to do. They never will be that. They never can be that. They never will be that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were created for more. Bottom line.
Yeah. And I'll just close out with this, and this will be our last little goodbye to you as our viewers. The Psalms 8:4 says, "What is mankind that you are mindful, and human beings that you care for them?"
Yes.
And God is a God that never sleeps. God is a God that never slumbers. God is a God that never takes a day off, and yet you are always on his mind. We are always on his mind. And so the way that I think we can defeat the idolatry, and the way that I think that idolatry is dangerous, is it because it allows us to treat God as part-time. It allows us to treat God as something that we can pick up and we can lay down when we have never left his mind. And so I think in one of my favorite things, and I tell this to my students and the couples that we mentor, is reciprocity. Is the give and the take of what I've received is what I give right back in the favorable. So God always has you in his mind. The best thing for us to do, the best thing for you to do, the best thing for me to do is return the favor. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on Jesus. And so we encourage you to do the same thing. This is the first word, where we let the Bible have the last word. I thank you for being with us. We will see you next time. Any last words? All right. Peace. Join us for virtual service. We are not in the building today. We are on Facebook and YouTube. So we'll see you soon in our virtual service. Be blessed.